Hey everybody, it is Wednesday and we are in January. Can you believe it? 2022. Hope you all had an amazing new year. So, I want to get started tonight and talk about motivation and discipline, the difference between them, what I think is, I don't want to say more important, but makes more sense to me as far as motivation versus discipline. So, first of all, I want to see that you guys are here. So, let me know you're here by saying hi, ask any questions you have. Love to answer them, or maybe somebody that's attending can answer. But really, we're going to talk about the difference between motivation and discipline, and then a little bit about what I think about those two terms. So I see that 10 people are watching, but I don't see any comments. So let me know that you guys are here. Please, please, please. Always like to see that. So this is a really good topic, and we could talk forever and ever and ever about. Jennifer's here. Awesome. All right, where's everybody else? Okay, difference between motivation and discipline, and then, like I just said, what is my viewpoint, my own personal viewpoint on those differences. So, discipline is to me like what to do, like what should I be doing to reach my goals. And motivation is why to do. So that would be your goal. You're motivated to lose 20 pounds. You're motivated to buy that new car. You're motivated to whatever it is, right? Whatever that goal is that you have set for yourself. And so to me, discipline is, okay, now what do I do? What to do to get to that goal? So discipline kind of brings out the best in people, I think. Heidi's here. Hey, girl. And Olga's here. Love it that you guys are joining us. It's not like I'm going to ask you to talk, but you can make some comments, ask any questions that you have. That's perfect. So, let's get into a little bit what I just said. Using motivation or using discipline to bring out your best. So motivations serve us at one point, right? Like primal motivations, like back in the day. But society has changed. So primal motivations is I'm hungry, I need to eat. I need to eat right now, right? I need this, I have to go get it. And it's that caveman way of thinking. But society's changed, survival has changed. So back then, all they could think about is being in survival mode. And so discipline tends to serve us most when motivation says to do otherwise, right? So an example would be getting out of bed in the morning, right? Motivation, that's a goal to get out of bed, and I'm using this as an example because this is me. Motivation says get out of bed. Discipline is actually doing it. Discipline right here up in your head will help you do it. So again, it's discipline is the what to do, and the motivation is why. I need to get out of bed. The why I want to get out of bed is to get my day started, right? I've got a lot of things I want to do and accomplish and goals that I want to do, but discipline is what's going to help me get to that point. Discipline my workouts, discipline my food intake, all that kind of. Jody's here. Nice job. I love it, you guys. Keep the comments coming. All right, so motivation is why to do. So motivation, like I said, is the why behind your goal. It's like the little engine that tells you can when the rest of you says you can't. So motivation is a lifelong skill that you can improve through like self-awareness, improving strategies. And so the better you get to know what those drivers and levers are of your own personal life, your life, the more effective you're going to be at getting those results. But you need the discipline too to help determine what it is that you need to do. So it's self-discipline. It's the ability to correct maybe some behaviors. It's simply like correcting or regulating behavior for the sake of that. So, hey Karen, awesome, nice to see you. Perfect. So I hope that makes a little bit more sense when we talk about the differences in those two. Um, Motivation is more comes more from emotion. It's more emotional, right? Motivation. And how do you motivate somebody when it's emotional? And you motivate somebody, typically for women, is to get at their emotions, is the reason behind, like, why do they want to lose 20 pounds or more. Maybe it's because they're having really bad health problems, and so that's emotional for them. Or emotional is, I've been, binging on all this food, and I'm diabetic now, and I've got all these things, and that emotion will eat up at you, and then you're motivated to go and seek somebody out to help you lose weight and eat better. But it's the discipline really that's going to drive that, and we'll get to that. So Stephen Covey, he writes some amazing books. But he has this quote that says, "Only the disciplined are truly free. The undisciplined are slaves to moods, appetites, and passions," and those are those emotions, right? So self-discipline is a muscle that gets stronger the more you flex it. So the more disciplined you are, and I know I talk to women a lot that we talk about that disciplinary muscle that gets lost in this next chapter, right? We lose that disciplinary muscle because of whatever, life happens. And then you just can't get back on track. And then you say, oh, well, it is what it is. This is where it's supposed to go. And the discipline will help, getting that disciplinary muscle back will help. And that's where we talk about developing a plan of action. What are your goals? What are the next steps? What are your goals? It is specific to you, right? So now another thing, on the other hand, and this can be kind of confusing, but motivation and discipline do work hand in hand. And it's kind of like what I've been saying. Motivation can be your initial inspiration, right? Like you want to lose 20 pounds, 25 pounds, whatever it is. But when you lose that initial inspiration, like, oh, I'm just tired, I just don't want to work so hard, self-discipline will help keep you going. So to commit to self-discipline, it's like, okay, is that initial motivation worth it, right? Is it worth it to me to lose 20 pounds? Is it worth it to me to get off my insulin, right? Got to kind of think about that. What is that ultimate goal of yours? So I think you find motivations if you ask yourself a few questions, such as, first of all, what do I want to do? What is it that I want to do? What do I want to avoid? So what do I want to do? I want to lose 20 pounds. What do I want to avoid? I want to avoid getting sick. I want to avoid going to the hospital because I'm not taking care of myself. I want to avoid becoming obese or whatever that is. And then why? Why do you want to do it? Right? I think discipline comes when you ask this question: what's the best thing for me to do, right? And that will drive then that motivation. So how do you make that discipline actionable? So have you ever heard this, where there's a will, there's a way? I say that all the time. I mean, it's easy to do things that you're motivated to do, but it's not easy to do when you're not motivated to do them, if that makes sense. So how do you transition those behaviors? So here's a few things that you can do to make that discipline actionable. First of all, ask yourself, what's the right thing to do? And this is for you, right? Not for anybody else. What is the right thing for you to do? So get clarity on that. What are the right things for you to do? Because you can't discipline or change, like course correct, if you don't know what it is that you want to change or what you want to do. So that's the first thing. That makes sense, right? You need to know what you want to do. I want to lose 20 pounds, okay? And I know I'm just using that as an example. It could be anything. Treat motivations as input. What does your mind want? What do your emotions want? And what does your body want? So what does your mind want when you lose 20 pounds? So treat motivations as input. What does your mind want? We already said it, right? What do your emotions want? Well, I want to drop 20 pounds so I can feel self-confident, so I can be stronger, so I can play with my grandkids so I can go hiking in the mountains. And what does your body want? Your body wants to live as long as possible. It's about longevity at this point in our chapter too. What does your body want? We all know your body wants to have energy. Your body wants to feel healthy. Your body wants to fuel itself. It's so asking yourself those questions. And you guys, what I'll do is I will put some of these things that I'm talking about below the Facebook Live when I put it in the guide section in Mind Body Beautiful in the Facebook group. You want to decide up front, right? And it's the key. Decide on your behaviors beforehand. Like, what are you going to do when you're in because when you're in the thick of things, like when things get tough, like you kind of lose that. Like you're like, why am I doing this? It's easier to react than respond, and you can respond more effectively if you're committed to a decision. So decide up front, what it is. So first of all, what's the right thing for you to do, right? Get clarity on that right thing. You guys all know what the right thing is to do for you. Treat motivations as input. What does your mind want to do? So kind of do that self-talk. And then decide up front. Decide on your behavior. So what could happen, right? Because when you have a plan, it's going to be easier to follow if you have a plan. And that's just like with anything. A plan to work out. You have a plan to eat well. All that kind of stuff. And you want to ask yourself questions. You want to get in the habit of saying, ask yourself, what do I want to do? What's the right thing to do? And what do you want? And what you want to do is your motivation, right? What's right for you will take discipline. So what do you want to do? Lose 20 pounds. I want to go hiking in the mountains with my friend. I want to go on the boat this summer in a bikini, right? And then what's right for you will take discipline. Make motivation work for you. Discipline lights up your way, but motivation is your fuel. So look at the motivation as that goal, that end goal, and then discipline will help light that way. So you want to think about your feelings and think about all those thoughts around that ultimate goal, that motivation. And because if you link that to good feelings, the motivation, that goal, that discipline will come. So hopefully that makes sense. So if you think about that goal as, oh my gosh, I can just imagine what's going to feel like when I've lost that 20, 25 pounds and I'm on the boat this summer, or maybe it's not the boat, maybe you just want to lay at the beach, or you want to go hiking, all that kind of stuff. Remember those good feelings. And then the discipline will get you to that ultimate goal. So remember, I talk a lot about, and I've talked about this in other lives and in different things, is just always go back to that why. Why are you doing this? Yes, it gets tough, but remember that's that whole plan of action that you want to have in place. Try not to be a slave, though, to your motivations. Like, don't be a slave to those goals. And so you want to free yourself up through discipline, and so you want to use discipline and motivation together so that you realize your potential and you bring out the best. So let's just review. So self-discipline. This is self-discipline in my own words. So self-discipline is a series, and I took some notes, so I'm going to look down to look at, so I can just make sure that I tell you all this stuff. Self-discipline is like a series of consistent habits and routines. Just like resolutions, and you think about New Year's resolutions, it's New Year's routines. Should be a routine, not a resolution. That's how I look at it. So that series of those consistent habits, talk a lot about habits or routines. If you diligently apply and you continue long after those initial motivated feelings have simmered down, right? So it's a series of those habits and discipline. So there's that ultimate goal. You put some feelings behind it. You're trying not to be a slave to it. But when you do the things that you need to do on that daily basis, you're getting in those routines. That is called discipline. You just get up. You go work out. You do this. You do that. So that's what I think about self-discipline. And so I tend to Yes, you're right, Jennifer. Routine and not resolution, because typically that's like diet versus nutrition. If I say I'm focusing on my nutrition versus diet. Diet has that like almost negative, I'm not going to do it, like meaning behind it. Routine is a routine, a daily routine, a weekly routine. A resolution to me is okay, I'm going to do this resolution, but we all know when you say resolution, it's going to last a couple weeks, right? And then we're going to be back into those, you know, not meeting that resolution or those bad habits. So that's very true, and that's why I like that much better than resolution. So perfect. So I choose discipline over motivation. So when I see comments, I just need motivation. Well, what does that mean? So I don't know what that means to that person. But to me, um, it might be just the difference in their mind of what is the difference between motivation and discipline. Like I can do my best to give you the tools that you need to develop discipline and encourage you to encourage the motivation to do that. And I can help you with that motivation as far as setting that goal and that why. But I can't make you go and work out every day. I'm not there. I can't come to your house. I can't make your food, even though I've been asked to do that, that kind of stuff. So you have to develop that routine and that discipline to do that. So that's why I choose discipline over motivation. Motivation is a lot of emotions. Discipline produces results. So you can have all the motivation in the world. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to lose 20 pounds, but I'm not going to start till Monday. But discipline actually produces the results. Scheduling that workout, meal prepping to make sure everything is ready for you, and being consistent. So that's the discipline. Motivation is temporary, right? But discipline perseveres. So motivation can change. Not that it's like not a bad thing, and you have to use discipline and motivation together, like we talked about. But I feel it's kind of temporary in a way. But discipline perseveres. So if you have that routine, discipline in your life and your schedule and your daily, whatever it is you're doing daily, and whatever that ultimate goal is, it's just going to last longer, if you will. Motivation fades after time. You kind of lose it, right? That's why people fall off the wagon. They do this roller coaster ride through their health and fitness journey. And I'm speaking to health and fitness because that's why many of us are here. But discipline's going to grow after time. You're going to be more disciplined. You're going to be going to bed on time. You're going to be getting up on time, all of that kind of stuff. Motivation is an event, right? But discipline is a lifestyle. And we talk about lifestyle. We talk about changing habits to last for your life, your lifestyle. It's about routine, right? Discipline to stay in that routine. And it is part of your lifestyle. So I have the discipline to get my workout in 5 days a week. I do it regardless unless I'm sick. It just happens. I'm motivated to meal prep because I know how I struggle if I don't, but I'm disciplined to do it, to make it happen. Motivation starts the project, so you're motivated to do something, you get the juices flowing, but discipline finishes it, right? Because if you didn't have the discipline, you can have all the motivation in the world. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to, but discipline's going to make it happen. Motivation sets the goal, like we talked about, but discipline works to accomplish it, right? So don't get me wrong, I don't think that motivation is bad, I think it's good. So I receive motivation during the week, and what I do is I read, I mentor people, and I do a lot of education around this subject and around other things. So I'm motivated because I constantly am reading, listening to audiobooks, and those kinds of things. So I'm constantly motivated. But it was only when I learned that transitioning those motivated feelings into regular discipline. So, and those are weekly routines or daily routines, that's when things start to happen. So when I started on my fitness journey, it's been 12 years ago when I was 44, that I was motivated to do it, but I had those motivated feelings transitioned into regular discipline actions, and it's been like that for 12 years. So you guys can do it. But it takes that daily routine, weekly routine, monthly routine, and that's where you're going to see those results. And you can use it for any part or any anything that goes on in your life. So I use and still sometimes do, because I'm human, a lack of time as an excuse. I'm so busy. And you can get frustrated with that, right? Because what has happened is projects didn't happen because of excuses. And so taking responsibility for not getting it done, or those actions, it's not just motivation, but it's the discipline to do that. And I'm not saying it's easy, but discipline really over motivation, right? I'm motivated to do it. I have ultimate goals, but I have to have the discipline to drive that. And that's the habits. That's the daily habits. So again, be disciplined to continue your weekly routine of hardcore exercise and quality diet choices. That's to the person who wants to become fit. To the person who wants to start a business, you have to be disciplined to do the research, planning, and it's a step-by-step process. If you want to be in a better financial position, you have to be disciplined to make wiser decisions by spending less money, investing, saving more. Or a career, if you're really, stepping into a desired career, you have to be disciplined to do the studying it and getting that experience. And it's just it's like the learning a new position. You have to be disciplined in order to get there. Or maybe you're going to write a book, and you need to be disciplined to write every single day, right? And stick to those word count goals. And that's a whole, that's something that a lot of people inspire to do. So continue to be encouraged. Keep going. There's just the differences between the motivation and discipline, but they do, like we just talked about, they do work together. And discipline your daily routines and your habits. It might seem boring and mundane, but remember, you're progressing one step further and further each day. You guys have all heard me say 1% better every day. And I think you're going to surprise yourself, because once you apply discipline into one area of your life, it's going to spread, organically spread, and transfer to other areas of your life. So I really hope this was helpful. I needed it to hear this too, just like you guys, because we are human and sometimes things happen. I'm really glad that you joined in this afternoon. But I want to leave you with a quote by John Rohn. I hope you've all heard of him. He's got a few books out there as well. But here's a quote from him. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. So remember that. Discipline is the bridge between goals, motivation, and accomplishment, making those goals happen. Making accomplishment. I think that's perfect. I mean, he said it right there. I don't have to, it makes sense, right? I don't have to try and explain it. So what I will do with the information that I've talked about tonight is post it under the guide section. Mind, Body, Beautiful. You'll see the title of motivation versus discipline in the guide section, and then I will put some of the things that I talked about in there for you, just some of the tips, some of the difference between motivation and discipline. And I don't want you to get me wrong. Motivation is a good thing to have. Like I feel it sometimes doesn't always last, or it's really hard to get that. But that discipline and that regular routine and that habit, it's about habits, changing some bad habits into positive habits that will last a lifetime. So it's that lifestyle. So hopefully that makes sense. Remember, routines, not resolutions. So when you're setting up, like, hey, how are you going to make 2022 your year? Develop a routine. Develop some discipline, because I know you guys all have it. It's just putting that in place. So have an amazing rest of your afternoon, night, wherever you're at, and I will see you next Wednesday. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, comments, anything like that. Heidi Glad. She said this was so helpful. Great mindset reminder. Yes, because we all need those, especially, we're starting in January, brand new year. Wipe the slate clean. We can't change the past. We can just move forward. And so this is one way to do it, getting some discipline in your life so you can reach those goals. I will talk to you next Wednesday. Take care.